All right, we'll open this meeting for May 8th, 2017, the Village Board meeting, Hartland, Wisconsin. Thank you for tuning in, any of you that are tuning in, and those that are here, thank you. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance by Trustee Compton.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're doing good, Gary.
Roll call?
We'll, yes, maybe we have a roll call. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Trustee Stevens?
Here.
Trustee Myers?
Here.
Trustee Compton?
Here.
Trustee Landwehr?
Here.
Trustee Swenson? Trustee Walschlager? Here. President Vanderstel?
Here. Any public comments from our audience? There are none. We will move on to the first item of the agenda, which is the motion to approve Village Board minutes of April 24th, 2017.
Also move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. Second item, consideration of a motion to approve the vouchers for payment in the amount of $308,148.71.
I move that we pay the bills for whatever it is I can't pick it up here.
308, 148.71.
148.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda, consideration of actions related to licensing, or licenses and permits. Consideration of an application for a street use permit for the Hometown Celebration Parade to be held on July 2nd, 2017. Do we have?
Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it? No, there's nobody in the audience on this
Go
one.
ahead.
So this is the same route as has been used in the past with staging on Hartbrook Drive, basically traveling Merton south to East Capitol, over through downtown to Cottonwood, and then down to Park and into essentially Nixon Park, where it disperses. So it's the usual routine as has been done in the past, 1 o'clock to about 3:30 or so on that Sunday, July 2nd.
Is that the same weekend that they're having the whole thing in the park?
Yes.
That's what I said, yeah.
So, right, so hometown celebration this is as close to the 4th of July as it gets in our pattern. I've been asked that a number of times. But the fireworks are Friday night, the 30th. There will be festivities and a variety of things going on in the park with kind of a Hartland 125th anniversary flair or bent on Saturday the 1st, and then the parade wraps things up on Sunday the 2nd.
I'll move to approve the street use permit.
Second,
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of application for operators, bartender licenses with a term ending June 30th, 2018.
Also move.
Second.
Do you want to read them real quick?
I'll read the list just real quick. Is bartenders and operated license expiring June 30th, 2018. Kendall Larson, Thomas Ludke, Shanita Williams, and Jacqueline Fallon.
Also move we approve a bartender operating license for June 30th.
second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's carried. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the second reading of a bill for an ordinance number 424-2017-01, an ordinance to amend Chapter 30 of the Village of Hartland Municipal Code pertaining to court.
Same ordinance as last time, no changes have been made, it's as updated as it's going to get.
so then we can go with it.
If you want, you can suspend and go ahead.
I move that we suspend the rules.
I'll second.
All in favor of suspending the rules?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Now
All
I
right.
move- Now I move that we adopt the bill for an ordinance. What number we got here? Here we go.
042417.
Yeah. I move we pass that.
I'll
ordinance.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That carries.
Thank you.
Next item is referred from the February 20th, 2017 Plan Commission meeting. This is a consideration of a motion to approve the final extraterritorial plat for Hawks Haven in the town of Delafield with conditions.
What are those? Those conditions, it seems like it was longer than the approval.
Yeah, because I had the memo in there as well. A lot of those things are sort of taken care of by the Plan Commission. The biggest recommendation or the biggest condition that the Plan Commission made was the three-party agreement between the village, the town of Delafield, and the developer who's here in the room regarding really two things. One is the sanitary sewer that they'll be getting from the village. They'll be transmitting it through the village to Delhart, of course. And the other is stormwater, which will be transmitted through the village, ultimately ending up in the Bark River. And so those two items were part of the recommended condition that we create an agreement. That agreement has been drafted. The town has agreed to the concept of the agreement, and we looked at a sample that we have actually adopted with them in another matter. For those of you playing along, so to speak, Foxwood Estates, down south of the village's industrial park, is in the town but served by us for sanitary sewer. So we modeled it off of that ordinance. That agreement. The town is okay with that in general terms. I believe the developer is as well. But in order to kind of allow things to continue to move forward, knowing that we still have I'll call it the hammer because I just happened to look at the gavel. We have the hammer of the actual sanitary sewer connection, the final connection, to hold off until the agreement is signed between the parties. But we have a basic agreement, so.
How do we pay, did they pay for hooking up the, I think that was always a little bit of a contention to me with the towns. They hook up and we put the infrastructure in, and the last one we had, if they use the water, they pay for it. If they don't, but we had to hook up, you know what I mean?
Oh, you're talking about, for example, you're talking about, in this case, I think, the fire hydrant that's in
Yeah, in the other part.
in the other
yeah.
part of the town. And that truly is one piece that there isn't a whole lot of use, but they do pay in that instance for some annual maintenance through the homeowners association. In this instance, there's, as you know, two fairly significant matters at hand. One is the connection fee that gets paid to the village and to Delhart for sewer. That's about $9,000 and change per household.
That gets paid to us.
That
and
gets
it's
paid to
Delhart.
us and then transferred.
Okay.
About half of
Is
it
that
gets
a
transferred.
one-time fee?
It's a one-time fee per household, collected by us and transferred. About half of it, in this case, would go to Delhart. That's in the agreement, and we ask the draft of the agreement requires that the developer pay that up front when he's ready to go, as we have done for many years in the past with our own developers. The other piece of that equation is, of course, the quarterly billing that goes on for sanitary sewer services. In this case, because they don't have water, there's no water bill on which to bill it. So there's an agreement made, and this is one of the places that we followed the Foxwood Estates agreement. There's an agreement that says they're treated as if they use 100,000 gallons a year. So
Like
they
we are.
basically get a quarterly bill based on 100,000 gallons annually with the proper calculations that go along with that. So it changes as our rate changes. They pay to us, and of course, then we pay Delhart the piece that they get. The other part of the agreement that's an issue here related again to sanitary sewer is that the town agrees to two things. One, of course, that we can put sanitary sewer in the town. They're requesting it actually from us. And the other part is that the town agrees that anytime somebody's delinquent, that the town will assist us in the process of putting it on their tax bill and collecting it at the end of the year.
Well, I think that's a good idea, as much as I got pros and cons on it, but to put the sanitary sewer in, I think is great. That's what it should be, because you gotta keep our water clean.
It certainly is,
know.
a factor for keeping not only groundwater clean, but also for, frankly, we're getting close in that area down to the Pewaukee Lake area, drainage area, and we want to keep that stuff out of Pewaukee Lake.
What was the amount for the hookup fee? Per
The
house?
hookup fee is around $9,000 per household,
Okay.
For something for Del Harley.
and about half of that, about 4,000 of that goes to Delhart.
Yeah, my concern was that last thing in your memo, the residents of the subdivision should be required to contribute to the cost of the village maintenance in the infrastructure and the regulatory compliance efforts related to the water of the subdivision. The cost paid by the properties to the village via general tax.
Right.
levy. Explain that bad.
And that's the other part of the agreement, that's the other major section of the agreement that we're proposing with the town. And this piece is a little bit blurrier because we've never really had to deal with stormwater before. As you all know from working with the village, those regulations are getting tighter for municipalities. And so we're having to spend a fair amount of resources, both financial and human resources, to maintain that system, inspect that system, inspect the private parts of that system. That is, for example, in this case, Riverwalk, River Reserve rather, has ponds that'll be part of the way the water gets treated coming out of this particular subdivision. Of course, this subdivision will have a pond that will have to get inspected. So what we're proposing and what in concept has been agreed upon is a charge to the individual 11 individual houses in the Hawkshaven that is equal to what we are charging our own residents for stormwater. The reason there, it's on our levy. It's not we don't have a stormwater utility like some other municipalities have, so it's a little bit harder for us to figure out. We have to kind of amalgamate all that information. And
Is that gonna be in their covenants then?
uh,
I mean, we're
it should be, but this will be a recorded document against each one of those properties. So when they
Okay, so
do
it
their
doesn't-
title searches,
Doesn't
they'll
really
see it.
matter.
Right.
And
they'll
so if
see it.
somebody doesn't pay and moves out, then it goes to the next one.
Well, yeah, I mean, they'll get an annual invoice from us and have to pay that. It's not huge dollars, it's probably about the same as a quarter of sewer service, but
Of course, that don't make any difference, because we charge the city or the town, don't we? I mean, or do we charge?
again, the agreement is set up so that we're going to I forget frankly in this case if
Yeah.
it was the association or if we're going to the individual homeowners, but again, the town backs that.
Yeah, so if they
and
don't pay, that's their
It goes
problem.
onto their tax bill.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
You'll see that agreement, we hope, in a couple of weeks, so that you can finalize that. But again, as I said, pre-construction meetings happen for the subdivision already. All the engineering is done for the subdivision, and rather than cause him any delay, we decided to be nice neighbors and allow him to move forward, or ask that you allow him
So
to
we
move
can
forward.
pass that with the conditions then.
I think you pass that with a condition that subjects the final plat to the agreement.
And we should have, so if we don't have an agreement at the end, then this fades away.
Technically, the final plat is not approved by
Yeah.
us.
Okay. Just keep it up.
We will.
So are we gonna approve this motion with all the
I think you just have that one condition, with the conditioned on the agreement.
Yeah.
conditions?
I think everything else is
We approve
covered.
the agreement with the conditions so noted.
That works?
Yeah.
Approve the final plat, is that what you said, with the
Yes,
conditions as
with the
noted?
final plat.
That's an
Second
appropriate
it.
motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
One quick question. On the east side, is that a potential fire truck area to get in off of Outlot 2? You know how it bees off there by, is it Maple?
It
Ave?
does, no, it's not, there wouldn't really be any access over there. I think there's a berm on that east side along Maple, right, Dale?
Maple Avenue will have a
Right,
So that little V strip going
The-
into the
into the
turnaround?
outlet. Really, you know what that's for? Is because there's a requirement in the state law that says you have to have
Okay.
access to the outlet from the right of way.
Yeah.
That's the
Otherwise
only
there's-
reason it's
Okay,
there.
Okay, I just was wondering.
Yep.
Okay.
There wouldn't be any other access there. You'll probably put a path or something there, or maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. The next item on the agenda is consideration of board and commission appointments as presented by Village President Fannerstill. One question I am going to have on how you guys normally do this is, do you usually vote on every single member?
In the past, they have done them as a group,
Okay,
Unless you got it, yeah.
unless there's a reason
Unless
otherwise.
there's somebody, then you gotta start over. Well, we never had that, basically. Or not yet.
so for the Joint Architectural Plan Commission, James Schneeberger, Randy Swenson, and Jeff Fannerstill, as village president, will be the appointments. The only one new going there would be the village president. For the Police and Fire Commission is Dr. Christopher Rebholz. That is a continued appointment, is that correct? Board of Review will be Jeff Fannerstill, village president, Darlene Eigel, our village clerk, Ryan Bailey, our finance director, Karen Compton as village trustee, and Mike Myers as a citizen member. Each one of those, other than the village president, is a continuation in that capacity. For the Delhart Board, Karen Compton, Richard Landwehr, Michael Myers, Rick Stevens, Jeffrey Fannerstill will be put in as an alternate. Ice Age Trail Community Committee is Jeff Romagna, that is a new appointment, and then Dave Van Thiel.
I'll move to approve the appointments as read.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those appointments are carried. Next item on the agenda is, sorry, I lost my train here. The update related to the public hearing regarding the FDA regulation of the electronic cigarette and vaping industry.
Mr. President, are you gonna read that?
Yeah, we're gonna read the 20.
Oh, sure. I bet you'd jump over the table and come in the strangle. Yeah.
We'll adjourn and come back tomorrow morning.
So, I just wanted to take a minute and brief the public on how that all worked out. It was an interesting few days for the village. As a reminder, you met, those of you, most of you sitting at all of you sitting at the table know, you met Thursday evening for 3 or 4 hours. You met all day Friday and part of the day on Saturday. You met for probably a total of about 16 or 17 hours in this room and heard about 14 hours of testimony from 24 different people.
And then again on
And then
Monday.
Monday night.
And then you came back on Monday evening, right? Let's not forget that. You came back here on Monday evening and spent what felt, I'm sure, like a long couple of hours reviewing what became a 23-page findings document that discussed what you learned in the hearing and created the backup for the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever the number was, I don't recall, of findings, official findings that you made as a body. And I say you because it was primarily the village board. You were also assisted by Bill Cash, who is on the chamber board and is a local business individual, works for First Financial Center, First Bank Financial Center. So the important thing of this is, of course, it's a very different scenario for us. We're taking sort of a stand against the federal government, as you well know. That document is done. You have all signed that. Those of you that were on the hearing board have all signed that. And it is prepared now to go. And as Darlene knows, this is the document that it ends up becoming. Not only is the findings document in there, but there are various attachments that were discussed, exhibits that were discussed during your hearing. At this point, as was discussed a little bit last Monday night, the plan is to get that transmitted by hand out to the Department of Health and Human Services and the Food and Drug Administration. So that's kind of the next hurdle that we're trying to get over in deciding how that will be done. In discussion with the Electronic Vaping Coalition of America, who asked us to take a stand here and have been working with us through this process. They've asked whether the village would make available, presumably me and the village president, to be the ones to courier this out to Washington DC and try to put it in the hands of the right people. So it would be appropriate, I suppose, to take a little bit of time and discuss that with the village board and see if there's any concerns over that.
Do you intend to go, or?
Is
We
Fred
would,
going?
we would go, we would meet out in Washington DC, the representatives from the coalition, as well as the hearing officer that we used for the process, Mr. Grant. He would meet us out there as well and work with us to make sure that it was delivered and represented properly. There is a cover letter that goes with it that is being finalized right now that talks a little bit about the law and the process, is in the form of a transmittal letter, discusses the executive orders of President Trump as it relates to this. So they're hoping to get us out on Wednesday, to have some meetings out in Washington, D.C. They also intend to hold a press conference of some variety, either Wednesday afternoon or Thursday, along with other meetings on Thursday. And we would be back in the village Thursday night or Friday.
And I think as long as we went this far with it, but I'm just as a curiosity, is the group gonna pay for your trip there?
They would. The Vaping Coalition is, and their members are willing to pay the cost of getting it out there and getting us out there.
I think it's a good idea for us to, we went this far for you to go, basically,
Oh,
or somebody,
definitely.
you know.
Hopefully you'll get it in the hands of somebody who'll actually read it.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
so.
Well, don't leave the office until they do.
The,
You definitely have to get it out there.
the Linda, you all remember Linda, who is sitting up here on the right-hand side from this perspective. Linda is actually in Washington right now trying to set those meetings and get those times arranged and handled, so.
It was very important that when you give it to the officer, that he doesn't put it on the bottom shelf,
Yep,
and then 2 weeks later you ask him what happened to it, and it's still on the bottom shelf.
right.
Tell them it explodes after 2 weeks if it's not red.
That's a good idea.
There you go.
Mike?
So you don't know whether you're gonna go or not yet at this point?
If the board's okay with it, we'll make the arrangements. I think that President Vanderstill has arranged his schedule such that he can be there. I can arrange mine such that I can be there.
I think you should, personally.
They'll bring back
I'm fine with
souvenirs.
it.
Okay.
Yep.
What did you say? Bring back souvenirs? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd like to make a
Swipe an
motion.
ashtray.
I'd like to make a motion then to approve Dave and Jeff to go to Washington.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion on that?
Well, to support our, have a little more
Yes.
than that motion.
Yeah.
To deliver the document and,
Okay.
yeah, in
All
support
in
of the
favor?
actions.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That is carried. We will go. This, I guess first we'll get to, are there any announcements? Leave them in the right spot here. correct?
Uh-oh.
Fire department,
He's
public
open.
safety's coming up.
so
That's not a
what-
good.
Well, this one we need.
You just opened the trap door.
Yeah,
We got a big day
first,
today.
We need to have it there.
You should go towards the camera.
before my esteemed colleague and I make a couple comments, I want to just let you know, Attorney General Brad Schimmel announced this morning, and this is a message from this morning, it says, announced this morning that the April 29th, 2017 drug take-back was a record breaker for Wisconsin. With all of your help, we collected 66,039 pounds of unused medication that will ultimately be destroyed. And Hartland's share of that was 335 pounds, is what we submitted to that. So that was a drug collection that occurred Saturday, April 29th. It was a national take-back, but Wisconsin certainly had a big share of that, of over 66,000 pounds. So. I don't have those numbers.
You know what, Dean?
And the way that works is that it's open when people have stuff that's past expiration and stuff like that,
Yep.
especially prescribed medicines, and they still have them, they haven't needed them anymore for whatever reason they had them, they can bring them. And then they all
Expired.
get put together, and then instead of them being flushed down the
Right.
toilet or ending up in the wrong hands, they're all.
We don't want anything going down toilets.
Right.
So,
It can be unused, it can unwanted, excess medication, expired medication. We have people who have people who passed away and they're cleaning out their house and they'll bring in all that medication. We've even collected illegal substances, just to, if somebody comes across that and they want to get rid of it, no questions asked, just get rid of it.
Okay.
So.
it's very
And that is the
important.
proper way to
Yeah.
dispose of. You're
Right.
not supposed to
We
just
have the
throw it
two
out or anything
boxes in
like
our
that.
lobbies here, the east and west lobbies, where we collect 24 hours a day.
Okay.
I want to say it's very important that people don't flush, because up in Del Hart, that's bad for the lakes around here, because those pills go into the, and some fishermen that fish all the time can tell the difference between a changeover and some of the fish, so it's very important.
Yeah.
So when you recycle those, I've had people ask me, what do you do? Just take, you got like 6 or 7 different pill bottles with a name on it. They don't want their name, a prescription. Do they just dump them in a plastic bag, all the different ones, and just throw it in there?
Couple ways they can do it. I mean, some people just black the name out, some people actually just peel the label off.
Okay.
And that's probably the best thing to do. And you can put it right into our box, right in the pill bottle. Pill bottles usually end up getting recycled. When you said recycle, it's the pill bottles. The medication doesn't get recycled. That's all destroyed in an incinerator.
Okay, so just take the name off and pretty much put it in, you don't have to put
Pull
it
the
in a bag.
label off.
Do they still have that big one at Arrowhead? Didn't they used to have that once a year, or does this
Right.
take the place of it now?
No, this will be the other announcement.
Oh.
This Friday, May 12th, at Arrowhead, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., they will be doing their annual pill drop at the Mullet Center. And citizens are welcome to bring in any unwanted or unused medication as well on that day.
Don't even have to get out of your car, they can drive right up.
Can drive right up.
Medical students will take it.
The students will take them.
Under supervision.
Others,
And then we were just going to comment, I personally want to thank the fire department, and he'll probably thank the police department, but today we had a bomb threat at North Shore Middle School. Some of you are aware of that already. The school officials did a great job following their plan to evacuate the students. They moved 375 students rather quickly to a safe location. Ultimately, they were then taken by bus to another location to be reunited with their parents. The school was checked by the assistance of the City of Milwaukee bomb dogs. They brought 2 dogs out, and we went through the building with a couple of officers and these dogs to check on the safety of the building, and essentially it was ruled all clear. But the system worked for the most part. They did a after-action review with the school. They're looking at notifications, how those notifications went out to make sure that the process runs well. But they did a very good job today, and Dave was down there as well.
How does that actually work? So a child or whoever goes into the bathroom or wherever and sees this note and does what?
Well, in this case, we're not saying a lot about the actual note in case we end up with a suspect. We don't want to give too many particulars, but in this particular case, a person went into a restroom, they did see the threat, and then they contacted one of the school officials, a staff member, told them about it, and then we were
And that
contacted.
starts the whole thing.
Right.
It's the old see something, say something.
And exactly, we would prefer to know about these things and be able to check them out as opposed to people just assuming, oh, it's probably nothing, because it may be something.
Not to be negative, but that's a darn good practice for you both to see how you're doing in that type of a situation.
Absolutely, and I'm glad we've had that opportunity, as it worked out very well today between perimeter, between police, between fire, emergency services, City of Milwaukee. The residents were great, the families were wonderful, they didn't flood the school and try to get their children, the evacuation route went as planned. And again, the collaboration between the police was outstanding.
Where do the kids go up there now? Do they go out and outside, though, no?
Mhm.
And then I get there, huh?
They walk.
They get to a location
There-
way off-site, so if something happens.
There's alternative off-site locations, depending on what the situation is. And so they would choose which site they're gonna go to, but they get them off of the school property in this particular case.
Did
Well-
they go back in then, or did they all go home? then?
No, they were done for the day.
Okay.
And one of the things that we would like to remind parents of is that in an emergency situation, we are going to be trying to get some type of notification to them as to where they can be reunited. It just sometimes takes time. And fortunately today, most parents waited for those notifications and did not flood the school, because it doesn't help us if they all show up and we can't do this in an orderly process. We want to make sure that we have everybody accounted for, and then we begin the process of having them reunited with their parents. So always wait, it's always best to wait for the notification.
As a parent having kids in the schools, so being on that end today, as Dave, I believe you do also, or you do, it was really, it was very nice to, I don't know, it was heartfelt to have, the notifications did come through from the school, letting you know, stay back right now, we're working, everything's being taken care of, but they let us know our kids are safe. So I guess on behalf of myself and all of us that, you know, are in the community, but people with parents, the kids got home on time on the bus, and they kept them safe, and they got them off location, and even had to relocate them, and they did all of this in a really organized fashion. So I mean, honestly, it's, thank you. It's a testament to what this community has to make sure that we all are safe, because you never know when it only takes once, and all of a sudden you're looking back saying, I wish we would have. And it really is heartfelt. I really mean it. Having 3 kids that were involved in it and in the moving around, thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the trustees also mentioned to me earlier on that the reverse 911, so to speak, the reverse call that gets made to the properties in the area worked well, and the message was received, multiple messages apparently, was received via the telephone for the residents in the area as well, so
Yeah.
that worked well.
It's a quick notification to all the other schools in the district as well, and private and daycares were all notified in a timely fashion. It was very, very well.
It was fast.
How does that work,
was really
reverse
good.
calls?
I
Through the
assume-
dispatch center, they can target an area, a certain amount of distance around where an event is happening,
And then you get a call.
and then it calls all the numbers that are registered to
okay.
that area. And it warns you about whatever, we can make any message we want. We can use this in emergency situations, we can use it for, perhaps like if a child is missing, we could have a call go out like that. It's referred as reverse 911.
So they just take care of the surrounding areas, kind of like.
Depends on the magnitude of the
Yeah,
event as
I
to
get
how
you.
far you
Yeah, I
might.
never heard of that. That's great.
It was fantastic. I mean,
Yeah,
each
that's
step of the
great.
way, and like I say, today I was on the other side of it. Each step of the way, they let us know what was going on. So they let us know what threat was involved, but then every 10 or 20 minutes, it'd be like, okay, your children have been moved, they're here, stay back. We're working, the kids are safe. And then the kids even, you know, as it went through the process, they let you know. And then when there was the all clear of you can come and pick them up or let them go on the buses.
Did you get
However,
that at work? I mean, it works.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's just a number, and then if
it's
you're-
connected to the number.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I
For
mean,
those emails, that wasn't
Yeah.
reverse 911, that was coming from the school.
oh, was it? Okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't know which ones were which, but the coordination was
Yeah,
outstanding.
Okay.
Mike, is there a way for an individual who doesn't have a landline at home to get their number registered for that?
Actually, if you go to our website, there should be a listing right on there on how to sign up for those, under the alert sense.
villageofheartland.com, go to the police department and the info's there. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Mike, is there anything worth discussing about the situation in Mary Hill at this point? The residents in that area are having to deal with the fact that we have a pretty significant problem on their entry boulevard.
Yes, what Dave's talking about is Greystone Boulevard between Mary Hill Circle and Southern Oak Drive. That we had a utility trench settlement in numerous places along the sanitary sewer line for that stretch. So that necessitated closing down the road. We put two-way traffic on the northbound Greystone Boulevard section. So between Southern Oak Drive and Mary Hill Circle, we have cones down the center of that boulevard section so people can get in and out on that section. Once they get down to Southern Oak Drive, then they split back into the normal sections of the boulevard. We've issued a contract today with our utility contractor, Wood Sewer and Excavating, to begin removing the asphalt. Village staff will continue work on the trench settlement by flush compaction, and I'm looking to get a proposal for a paving company to come in and repave that road as soon as we physically can. So we apologize for the inconvenience it's causing, but we're working as expeditious, as quick as possible to get it fixed.
How long is that gonna take? Excuse me.
It might take up to 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. I
It's
mean,
just the
that-
estimate at this point.
If somebody asked me, in a month, they'll be back to normal. Maybe.
That's what we're hoping
Should be.
for,
Is
yes.
it just the one side?
Just the one side, yes.
And
That's where
what,
the
this is called a
utilities
trench
are.
resettlement, it's unforeseen, I'm guessing?
It seems to be the sanitary sewer trench has continued to settle over time. This is probably about a 15-year-old construction.
Oh.
It's very deep, 20, 25 feet down, and it has continued to settle over time. We think, with the pretty wet April that we got, the street surface was already in bad condition. Water is getting through. It settled that out, creates voids, and we had
Gotcha.
things start to cave in. And when, as part of the process to get things to settle, when we were doing our first repair, I think we actually found some other stuff and
Yeah.
have probably
Okay.
as many as 8 or 10 now sinkholes along that entire trench section. It's just sort of continuing along now and now
Right.
that, so we'll flush compact it and,
Right.
and get it back to the way it should be and put a new surface on that. As Mike said, we're working toward getting new contracts. This is an instance where I think we will probably implement some of the emergency purchasing authority that we have in the village's purchasing guidelines. As you know, normally I would have authority to spend up to $15,000 on items that were budgeted. In an emergency, I have authority that goes up to 25. So depending on what Mike learns in terms of the paving aspect of this, we've already signed an agreement for about 6. Depending on what Mike learns in the paving aspect of this, if it's within that authority, we'll go. Otherwise, we might need to try and call a special board and have that approved so that we can move forward without slowing the process down.
Since
We're
we
gonna-
have, since we're having such problems in that area, is any way we can go in and just correct the whole thing and get it over with, or?
Well, before we repave any of the streets, we were planning on doing additional compaction over that utility trench, yes. And this was a street that I was probably going to be bringing up during our CIP discussions this summer because we just completed our pavement evaluations, and this was probably one of the worst streets we have in the village. So for timing-wise, it's falling in at the perfect time to repave the street based on the evaluation we just completed.
Worse than north?
Yes,
Yeah.
Who set up the barricades, by the way?
the village staff did.
The only reason I ask is I've had to reset them twice now, because they keep getting knocked over.
Or they can run in.
We'll make sure that we have
No, no, I'm just-
patrols
it's
to
fine.
make sure that they get set back
Never
up.
mind, it's
See,
not hurting my car.
Do you have an
We
orange
appreciate it.
jacket?
see
Why
why
what?
we,
No, I need an orange vest.
I can get you
Why
one.
we got you at attention,
Yes.
2 quick questions. How's Pauling Avenue, how's that coming along? Did you start that yet?
No, we haven't started it yet. We haven't had the pre-construction conference yet with the paving contractor, but we did put in the contract that that work would be done by June 30th. We're in contact with the utilities. Time Warner has a utility box that has to be relocated or put in a traffic-rated box, so that has to take place. And then the contractor, I'm waiting for his schedule to get that work done by the 30th of June.
And the other quick question is our bridge. I read on that, on your note, that that's being held up because we wanna combine it with the other bridge down in Park River?
No, I think what he's referring to is the Bark River Park and whether or not if there's any decision related to Riverwalk. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Right. Previously, the board, when they voted on the composite material bridge for Riverwalk Apartments, they said, well, let's hold off and see what this bridge looks like, and maybe our other pedestrian bridges, we can follow this same type of materials. Given that that Bark River Bridge on the north end of Bark River Park, just south of Highway 16, is in the CIP for this year, what I was wondering from the board is, should we wait until the other bridge for Riverwalk gets put in, or just proceed and replace that bridge as is, as a metal structure bridge in that location. Otherwise, the schedule could change and the material costs could be dramatically higher than what we have budgeted.
But can you start on the main one, the apartment bridge, while you're debating it? In other words, you don't wanna hold up the one coming from the apartment.
That one is a separate schedule.
Okay.
I'm just
okay.
talking about the replacement of the Bark
Replacement,
River
yeah.
Bridge.
Okay.
Questions, what would it cost, what is the replacement cost for that Bark River one? And you are not suggesting that we put a covered bridge there, are you?
No.
Okay.
The cost, I believe we have budgeted $38,000 for that project.
To replace it.
Are you gonna keep the same big arch in
I
it,
think
or
we
are you
talked
gonna?
about that.
Right, it would be a same arch bridge, metal frame with the wood slats for the boards for the walkway.
And so really, the two questions for the village are, and Trustee Walsliger, you alluded to one, is there any desire, and I don't think there is based on your previous conversations, is there any desire to add covers to any of the other bridges at this point?
No.
And I think from your conversations, you were not in that place. You thought that one showcase in the middle was probably enough.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, and this is really where Mike and I were talking, is whether or not there's any desire to spend the funds to widen any of these existing bridges that we have. They're all right now
4 feet wide.
4 feet wide, which is sufficient for, two-way traffic for individuals who are walking, not sufficient for two-way traffic for individuals who might be in a wheelchair or some other assistive
bicycle.
device.
Or
What is the
Or bicycle.
regulation? Isn't there an ordinance or regulation for that?
There is guidance out of the Americans with Disabilities Act that would, if you're gonna do that, it's gonna be
Change it, yeah.
wider. But we have an existing facility and it wouldn't necessarily require us to make that wider.
As small as we are, I would just replace what we have for now.
Right.
All right, so we're not hearing for any call
to.
to
Yeah.
hold off on make that wider, so
I would just,
maybe we can still then go ahead and proceed with looking at that, if we're not hearing any call to make a wider bridge or anything of that
What,
sort.
what are we gonna do with the other bridge? Do we have to decide whether we're gonna take that down or repair? The one by Palmer's?
That would ultimately be replaced, and we'll be talking about that during the CIP discussions over the
Is
summer.
is that really needed?
Ultimately, we
other one?
would have to replace that
Okay.
bridge along with the one at Nixon Park.
Thank you.
We'd like to have, I think from a downtown parking and a downtown
Yeah,
activity perspective, I think we'd like to keep both of those bridges active. The new one that's coming, along with the Riverwalk, and the one that exists today at Palmer's.
Yeah, 'cause that wouldn't work too good, the one with the apartments, if you took the other one down.
You'd
That's
end
what
up
I
forcing a
think.
lot of walk and.
Okay. Just,
that is useful.
Not to mention it's
Now I'm
extra,
checked up with you.
it's extra
Okay.
spaces to get over the river park,
Right.
walk to the businesses
Sure.
that are on
Like when-
Capitol.
exactly.
Yeah,
Additional locations.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'm
Thank you.
updated, thanks, Mike.
so, do you wanna touch on the?
So the next item on your agenda is proposed to be a consideration to go to closed session. I asked for that to be included so that I could update you on our negotiations with the developer related to expansion of the Riverwalk project, including other parcels. That conversation has not yet taken place because he and I keep missing each other on being out of town. So there is no reason for you to go to closed session. So at this point, unless you wanted to and hear nothing, a regular or a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned.